My name is Ethan Vu. I'm 32 years old, former lead machine learning engineer at AI Vera, a fast-growing tech company based in San Jose, California. I joined when it was just a dusty little startup in someone's garage desk, made of plywood, and the founder brewing his own coffee. Now we're on the verge of IPO with a gleaming glass office on the 18th floor and contracts with Morgan Stanley Citibank and half the finance world. I built the core AI model that powers our risk assessment engine using natural language data. That system is my life's work. I gave it my 20s. And I always thought when this company goes public, I'd be one of the first to cross that stage. Then came that Monday morning, a Slack ping from HR, please come to floor 17. No explanation, no subject, just that. The 17th floor is executive territory. Only two people were waiting in the glass meeting room, CEO James Ellison and his daughter Claire. James didn't even ask me to sit. He looked out the window and said calmly, "You understand why you're here, right? Ethan Claire is taking over your team starting today." I froze. That sentence hit like a blade to the gut. I'm sorry what I architected the entire system. There's been no complaint about performance. We're heading into an IPO. James shrugged, avoiding my eyes. Claire has strong investor relationships. Bringing her into the technical leadership is a strategic move for our IPO image. Nothing personal. I turned to Claire. I hadn't seen her in 8 years, not since we broke up at Stanford. Back then, I was a computer science undergrad. She studied business. We met during a fintech seminar. Things might have ended civilly if she hadn't crossed a line I could never forget. Claire once asked me to leak code from a group project to a hedge fund she was working with. I refused. She got angry and accused me of harassment. I was investigated, later cleared, but the fallout wrecked my academic trajectory. I left academia and joined the startup scene. And now she was back, sitting in the seat I built with 5 years of blood and brain. "I don't agree with this," I said evenly. "Was the engineering board consulted?" James sighed. "It's not up for debate, Ethan. The decision comes from the shareholders." That line, cold and final, told me everything. I was a sacrifice in someone else's power game. I walked out of the room dazed, stepped into the elevator. Then at floor 14, the doors opened and Claire stepped in. She wore a charcoal gray suit, white high-collar blouse, a silver brooch at the neck, elegant, composed, expensive. She glanced at me and offered a faint smile. "Still rocking that haircut, huh, Ethan?" I didn't answer. "We'll be working together quite a bit. Hope you won't make it personal." I stared her straight in the eyes. "I thought you'd grown past this kind of garbage." Claire chuckled like I'd told a charming little joke. "It's not personal, it's just strategy. You taught me that." Remember, the door opened. I stepped out, never looked back. I could have yelled, could have made a scene, but I didn't. I just walked out with one question burning in my mind. Why did Claire come back now, and what the hell is she really after I got home around 8 p.m. after driving aimlessly for hours like a ghost stuck between lives? My studio apartment in South San Jose felt colder, emptier than it ever had, no longer the quiet refuge it once was after long nights coding new model iterations. I opened my laptop. No emails from leadership, no apologies, not even a generic HR message. Just silence, as if I'd never existed. I checked our old Slack channels. The team risk model workspace had been renamed to Product Ops. Claire. My name was scrubbed from every repository. My company GitHub access revoked. Not one person reached out. I opened LinkedIn. Claire had just updated her title Chief Strategy Advisor, AI Vera, leading risk ML into the future of intelligent finance. I read it 3 times. Less than 6 hours after I walked out that door, she had already claimed my legacy. That was Claire, fast, ruthless, and never looking back. I messaged Brandon, my former DevOps lead, the only one I hoped might not have turned on me. "Do you know what's going on?" A minute later, he replied, "I've been told not to contact you. Claire has a 7-day internal comms lockdown in place. I'm sorry. Also, maybe log off LinkedIn for a bit." I typed, "You don't actually believe what she's selling, right?" No reply. I stood up, walked to the mirror. Staring back was a disheveled man in a wrinkled shirt, wild hair, and hollow eyes. I didn't want to spiral, but I couldn't stop asking myself, did I miss something? Did I do something wrong? I started backtracking. Claire hadn't just shown up. Someone paved the way. If she'd taken my role so publicly, this wasn't spur of the moment. It had been orchestrated. I scrolled through her post again. The comments made my skin crawl. Excited to see where you take risk, ML Claire. Brilliant strategic move. Big things ahead. And then one name hit me like a punch to the ribs, Harold Wise, chairman of Horizon Bay Capital, the same investor who declined to fund AI Vera 2 years ago, and the same man Claire was rumored to have worked closely with during her New York days. Claire once told me I don't need credentials. I just need to know the right people. I exhaled sharply. Pieces of the puzzle were aligning, but I needed proof, and I knew somewhere in AI Vera's infrastructure there had to be remnants she hadn't wiped clean. If I was lucky, I still had a sliver of access through a QA server I deployed months ago. I logged into an old testing VM using a private key I had quietly generated for debugging. Technically illegal, but I didn't care anymore. There it was inside a project folder named Risk Model Beta Test. Several files recently modified. Last editor, C. Ellison, she hadn't just taken my seat. She had rewritten my code, swapping out the core algorithm with an untested model. I scanned line after line. No cross-validation, no bias filters, no logging protocol. Claire was steering AI Vera into a data-driven death trap. And if this came to light before the IPO, she'd lose everything. But how could I prove it when every door had already been slammed shut? 3 weeks later, I was standing inside a tiny dental clinic in Santa Clara, working part-time as a digital imaging assistant, wearing a white lab coat and holding an X-ray scanner. Patients came and went, never suspecting I was once the lead engineer at a soon-to-IPO AI company. And none of them knew I was still tracking every move Claire Ellison made. Every evening after my 6 p.m. shift, I'd return to my apartment, fire up my old laptop, and dive back into what had become my real job, exposing AI Vera. I had backups of the original risk model source code from before my access was revoked. I built a comparison script line by line between my last verified version and the one Claire had deployed. What I found chilled me to the bone. She had stripped out all cross-validation checkpoints, manipulated the weight calculations to favor high-risk, high-return investment patterns. This wasn't a technical oversight. It was intentional. And it meant that institutions like Morgan Stanley would make billion-dollar decisions based on warped AI output. Claire knew this. She wasn't incompetent, she was complicit. I was certain Horizon Bay under Harold Weiss was betting on this algorithmic distortion to get in early and cash out before the truth emerged. This was no longer about personal revenge. This was large-scale financial fraud. I needed help, but from who I thought of Alyssa, a tech journalist I once met at a Stanford ethics panel. She wrote a scathing series on algorithmic bias and wasn't afraid to call out powerful players. I dug up her old contact and took a leap. Alyssa, remember when I said AI could crash global finance? It's happening, and I need you to hear me out. Ethan. She replied in under 30 minutes, "You've got 10 minutes. Send me a demo. Brace yourself for a storm." I sent everything: my code comparisons, internal logs, a video capture of the modified system behavior, all tied to C. Ellison. I didn't hold anything back. I had nothing left to lose. By the next morning, Alyssa wrote, "Editorial wants to meet. We verified your data, but we need one more thing: Claire's motive. What's in it for her?" That was the crux, and I thought of one person, Samir. He'd interned under me at AI Vera, brilliant coder, and unusually close to Claire. After I was let go, he went dark. No LinkedIn updates, no Slack activity. But I remembered he once bragged about backing up all engineering Slack messages locally for study purposes. If Samir still had those logs, I might be able to show Claire's direct orders to modify the system. If I could get chat logs or emails, this thing could implode. I reopened an old Telegram thread. "Samir, it's Ethan. I need your help. Not for me, for everyone who'll be hurt if AI Vera's lies go public." Read, then typing. 5 minutes later, I have it. All of it. But if I send it, I'm burning my career. I responded with trembling hands. "If you stay silent, your name becomes part of the next Enron." 3 hours later, a Google Drive link landed in my inbox. Title: Ellison Mesglogs. Confidential. I opened it, and I knew right then Claire hadn't seen this coming. I read through the messages between Claire and Samir, palms sweating. They spoke of aggressive optimization of removing Ethan's conservative logic to push the model's upper limit. But then buried in the technical jargon, I found the line that made my blood run cold. Harold's greenlit it. We have 3 weeks to get Risk Model 2.0 into production before Morgan signs. Don't let Ethan sniff anything. This wasn't a hunch anymore. It was organized deception, and I was the one who had stood closest to it without even realizing. I forwarded the entire archive to Alyssa, adding one simple note: she knew it would all crash, and she did it anyway. 36 hours later, her story dropped front page of the New York Ledger's Tech Plus Finance section, whispers of risk inside AI Vera's secret gamble with Wall Street. My name was withheld, but anyone in the industry could connect the dots. Claire Ellison was named directly as the architect of unauthorized structural changes to the core model bypassing standard validation protocols. The storm hit hard. Morgan Stanley immediately suspended its pending contract with AI Vera. Horizon Bay quietly pulled its name from investor decks. And Claire? Claire sent me an email with just 3 words: "You win, Ethan." But I didn't feel victorious. Not yet. Not really. It came too quickly. Too quietly. Claire wasn't the kind to surrender. This wasn't a retreat. It was a setup. That night I returned home to find my door unlocked. No sign of forced entry. But my laptop had been flipped open, external drives unplugged, and a new file created on my desktop. It read, "Let's play fair now, Ethan." See, I collapsed onto the floor, heart pounding. No doubt about it, Claire still had cards to play. I called Alyssa immediately. "She's been in my apartment. Someone's erased half my drive." She was silent for a beat. "Then you need legal protection. If she flips this, you could be accused of illegal system access. You need to get ahead of this." She was right. I messaged Samir. "You still have the untouched data right. Don't delete anything. You're a witness now." He replied, "Already with my lawyer. But Ethan, be careful. Claire doesn't just fight in the digital arena." Then the real intimidation began. Unknown calls, emails from fake addresses warning me to walk away. A package arrived at my door with a lithium battery labeled burnout. I called the police, but without proof it was brushed off. "If you feel unsafe," the officer said, "maybe it's best to leave town for a while." Leave, I had been fired, discredited, and now hunted in my own home. If I ran now, everything I'd fought for would mean nothing. No, I wasn't going anywhere. Claire wanted a war, I'd give her one. But I wouldn't fight it alone. I texted Alyssa, "She can ruin me legally. But what about her image, social media, leaked videos? Want to help me take down the entire executive circus?" The 3 little dots danced on the screen. Then came her reply, "I've been waiting for you to ask that since day one." 3 days later, an anonymous video surfaced on Reddit, YouTube, and X. It was grainy security footage, silent but damning. Claire Ellison was in a closed-door meeting with senior engineers, unaware that a conference room camera was still rolling. "Relax," she said, smiling confidently. "The auditors just need a clean demo. In reality, we control the inputs. The model can be retuned post-IPO." A developer hesitated. "But Ethan Vu might." Claire cut him off. "Ethan Vu doesn't exist. Stop bringing him up. He's a problem I already solved. I must have watched that clip a dozen times." Her voice, her smirk, undeniable. And exactly what I'd predicted. The internet exploded. RiskGate trended within hours. Journalists, tech analysts, independent AI watchdogs, everyone started dissecting AI Vera's claims like sharks circling a bleeding seal. Alyssa and I met in a tiny cafe south of Palo Alto, preparing for our next move, a live stream interview featuring a whistleblower me. I wore a baseball cap, a mask, and voice modulation. No face, just facts. I laid it all out: how Risk Model was rigged, how Claire manipulated the architecture, and how employees were silenced under oppressive NDAs. Then came the receipts, commit logs, system diffs, Slack messages, including one from Claire to Samir. "If Ethan leaks this, he'll never work in tech again." Trust me, within 48 hours, AI Vera's board of directors announced an independent investigation. 3 senior technical leads resigned. A former Horizon Bay executive reached out to federal investigators offering full cooperation in exchange for immunity. Claire vanished. Her social media profiles wiped. No office appearances, No known location. But I knew it wasn't flight. It was preparation. 1 week later, I got a letter from her attorney. She was suing me. Charges unauthorized system access, intellectual property theft, and defamation. Alyssa was shaken. Samir panicked. But me, I saw it for what it was, her final gambit. I turned to my lawyer and said, "We're not just going to defend. We're going on the offensive." Then I pulled out the last ace I had, the one I'd held back all along, a Zoom recording. Claire speaking candidly in a closed strategy session, AI Vera's a stepping stone. We juice the IPO, pump the numbers, then cash out before the model collapses. And then came the line that truly sealed her fate. "Ethan won't stop me. He still loves me. That's why he'll stay quiet." Maybe I had once. Maybe I'd stayed silent out of fear or heartbreak or pride, but not anymore. And Claire Ellison was about to learn exactly what it feels like to lose everything. The first federal hearing took place on a rainy Monday morning. I sat beside my attorney in a rented suit, staring across the courtroom at Claire Ellison, black blazer, immaculate posture, and that same proud, unreadable look in her eyes. But I knew the truth, better than anyone else in that room. The prosecution led with the audio clip. Claire's voice echoed across the chamber, crisp and undeniable. "Ethan won't stop me. He still loves me. That's why he'll stay quiet." Claire flinched. Her lawyer jumped up, challenging the admissibility of the evidence. Overruled. It was valid. And we were just getting started. Alyssa, testifying as a verified journalist, presented the verified dataset, system logs, and code comparisons. Then Samir, pale but steady, took the stand and confirmed the internal messages, orders, and Slack records under oath. An independent panel of AI ethics experts delivered the final blow. Risk Model 2.0 is a dangerously flawed product with the potential to mislead financial institutions and create systemic risk. Within 2 days, AI Vera stock plummeted 42%. The executive board was gutted. James Ellison was stripped of executive voting rights after failing to disclose a conflict of interest with his daughter. And Claire Ellison was found guilty of financial fraud, data manipulation, and willful breach of internal security standards. She was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, no parole, no appeals. The evidence was too overwhelming, the damage too deliberate. I walked out of the courthouse alone. No press conference, no fist pump, just silence. I crossed through San Francisco's Civic Plaza as newsstands rolled out front-page headlines. "Vietnamese American whistleblower brings down AI Vera." Alyssa caught up to me, phone in hand. "Ethan, CNN wants you live at 8. They're calling you a hero." I looked at her and said quietly, "I didn't do this to be a hero. I just wanted my name back." A week later, I received an email from a venture capital firm. "We're ready to fund whatever you want to build." I didn't reply right away. Instead, I opened an old file on my laptop, the original risk model code, the one I built from scratch alone long before the world knew my name. I rewrote it line by line. This time, not for a corporation, not for a paycheck, but for me. And at the very bottom of the script, I typed one final line: "They can steal your title, but they can't take your truth."